There's a moment almost every rider hits eventually. You pull out of your driveway alone, no group, no plan, no one to text a location to. And instead of feeling lonely, you feel something close to relief. Nobody talks about that feeling, but if you're over 50 and you ride, you already know exactly what I mean. Today I'm going to break down the actual psychology behind why older riders start choosing solo rides over group rides, and why science backs up something riders have known for decades without ever having the words for it. No fancy terms, just what's actually going on in the brain when a rider chooses the empty road over the group text. When you're young, riding is social. You want the wave from other bikers. You want people to see the bike. You want to be part of something. That's normal. That's how most hobbies work when you're building an identity. But somewhere in your 50s or 60s, something flips. You stop caring if anyone sees you ride. You stop needing the group to validate the trip. You stop planning routes around who's available and start planning them around what you actually want to see. Researchers who study aging and solitude found something that explains this perfectly. As people get older, the sense of being in control of their own choices, doing things because they want to, not because someone expects it, becomes one of the biggest drivers of happiness when they're alone. It matters more at 60 than it did at 20. So when an older rider skips the group ride, rolls up to a bike night, stay 20 minutes, and leave without a single photo, they read it as judgment. They think he thinks he's better than everyone. He's not judging anyone. He's just stopped performing, and that's uncomfortable for people who are still performing, because when one person stops chasing approval, it makes everyone else's chase a little more visible. That's not an insult, that's just what happens. Older riders aren't rejecting people, they're rejecting the noise. The photos, the matching gear, the small talk about whose bike is faster. What's left after you cut that out is the only part that ever actually mattered. The ride itself. This is where a real divide shows up in the riding world, and almost nobody says it out loud. On one side, you've got riders who value quiet, independence, and just getting on the bike. On the other side, you've got riders who care a lot about gear, image, and being seen doing it. Neither side is wrong exactly, but they're chasing two completely different things, and that's why they never quite understand each other. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this isn't just a feeling, it's measurable. There was a study out of UCLA where researchers hooked up riders up to brain sensors before and after short rides. After just 20 minutes on a bike, the rider's stress hormone levels dropped by almost 30%. That's a real physical drop in stress, not just a mood thing. The brain scans also showed something else. Riders' focus and alertness spiked while they rode. Their brain activity looked like someone locked into one single task, completely present, with no room left over for anything else. That matters more the older you get. Life after 50 tends to get noisy. Work stress, family stuff, health worries, a dozen tabs open in your head at once. A solo ride forces your brain to drop all of that and focus on one thing only, the road right in front of you. No group to manage, no conversation to keep up, just you, the bike, and the next curve. That's basically a moving version of meditation, except your brain doesn't have to be talked into it. The bike does it for you. Psychologists who study solitude in older adults have found some things that line up almost perfectly with what riders describe. First, alone time only feels good when it's your choice. Studies on older adults found that solitude someone chooses for themselves leads to more positive mood, while solitude that gets forced on someone, like isolation after losing a spouse or friends moving away, leads to the opposite. This is the whole key to the psychology here. It was never about being alone. It's about choosing to be alone. That one difference changes everything about how your brain experiences it. Second, alone time works best right after being social, not instead of it. A study tracking older adults over several weeks found people naturally cycle between socializing and solitude, and the ones with the highest life satisfaction actually leaned into both, heavy social time followed by real recovery time alone. A solo ride after a busy weekend with the grandkids isn't you avoiding people, it's your brain doing exactly what it's supposed to do to recharge. Third, solitude only helps you if you actually notice it. Researchers tracking older adults' daily moods found something surprising. Just being alone more than usual was linked to a slightly worse mood on its own, but that effect basically disappeared on days when people slowed down and actually savored their alone time, instead of just passing through it. In other words, riding alone only heals you if you're paying attention while you do it. Autopilot doesn't count. Noticing the light on the road, the smell after rain, the sound of the engine echoing off a canyon wall, that's the part that actually does the work. Fourth, you get more honest with yourself. When you ride with a group, your pace, your route, even your mood gets shaped by everyone else. Alone, every decision is yours: where to stop, how fast to go, whether to turn around. Over time, that builds something close to self-trust because you're the only one making every call and dealing with every consequence. Fifth, you learn to fix your own problems. If something goes wrong on a solo ride, there's no group to fall back on, no one to radio, no one to wait with you. You handle it yourself, and that builds a kind of quiet confidence that never really comes from being part of a pack. It's earned, not borrowed. Most riders say they ride for freedom, but a lot of them only ride when the group rides. They say independence matters to them, then they won't take a solo trip without telling 5 people where they're going and posting proof they did it. That's not freedom, that's still performing, just with a freedom label stuck on top. Real freedom looks smaller than people expect. It's a Tuesday afternoon ride with no destination and no post about it after. It's turning down an invite without an explanation. It's being okay with nobody knowing where you are for 3 hours. And here's why that hits different once you're older. Time stops feeling unlimited. You start asking yourself if you'd rather spend your riding time managing a group's plans or actually riding. Most guys who've been at this a long time make the same choice, not because they hate people, because they finally know what the ride was always supposed to feel like. People will call it selfish. They'll call you a loner, say you've changed, say you used to be more fun. You haven't changed. You've just stopped pretending things matter that never really did. Older riders aren't running from anyone. They already spent decades proving themselves, chasing waves at gas stations, keeping up on group rides, explaining their choices to people who didn't need an explanation. Somewhere along the way, they figured out that none of that was ever the point. The point was always the quiet, the empty road at sunrise, the moment your brain finally shuts up because it's too busy paying attention to the curve ahead. That's not something a group ride can give you. That's something you only find alone. So here's my question for you. When was the last time you rode with no destination, no post, and nobody to answer to? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. If this explains something you felt but never had words for, hit like and send it to a rider who'll get it. See you on the next ride.